Jamie Lee
Curtis. We've all said it. Now it's your turn.
All Hallows, Jamie Lee.
Curtis. Hi, and welcome to Behind the Hype. I'm your host, as always, Brian Dressel. With me, as always, is Chewy Darso.
Hello.
And Jonathan Hardesty.
Hi.
How you guys doing? Doing good?
Mm.
Doing great?
Doing 2020 is what I'm doing.
Yeah. Oh.
That means you're unstable.
I'm doing 2020. Doing 2020.
Yep, exactly.
Sucks. Ooh, something on fire. Ooh, love 2020. It's the best. And
at
it's
least
funny,
I have good vision.
When you look at the title of the movie we're reviewing today on IMDb, it's Halloween H20 : 20 years later, because that is the full title, and that means that 2020 is snuck right in there.
Oh, jeez.
In the middle of this title.
Oh no.
Does that mean we get to chop his head off? But then it'll be the wrong guy.
Oh man, I know you guys don't listen to Welcome to Your Doom, but I had a very good Trump rant at the end of one of our episodes recently, where I basically just kind of lost my shit of like, fuck him, I hate him. Oh, it was a good one.
We all do.
It was a good one.
I think he hates himself.
I would hope so. It'd be the only thing we agree on.
Oh no, you have something in common. Uh-oh.
Fuck. I'll take it. This is I'm willing to take that one. Anyhow, clearly we are recording on the night of the dueling town halls, so he's a little bit more on our mind. But we
Still don't really understand how they're dueling.
We're just on at the same time.
Dueling by who gets the higher ratings?
Oh,
Banjos?
Trump will absolutely get higher ratings, because Biden will be presidential, and Trump's going to talk about conspiracy theories about how aliens are coming to kidnap Americans. He's going to go insane. He's going to be a way more entertaining show in the worst way possible. Anyhow, let's jump back into movies. A nice warm blanket of movies and Jamie Lee Curtis, right?
Introducing
little Joshy Hartnett.
Hey.
Baby Josh Hartnett.
He's not baby. He's a teenager.
Yeah, he's 17. Clearly he's 17.
And he's wearing his early 2000s, or late 90s, sorry, baggy sweater.
Yeah, he's got
where
that.
it goes down his hands a little bit, and it just kind of looks like he's wearing his dad's sweater.
And he
I
has
mean,
like
poor guy just can't have clothes that fit. That's just a rule for him.
That was just a thing established with the dudes in Friends.
And I'm pretty sure he just had that haircut for like 6 years. Like, he just had that perfect, I just rolled out of bed. It's just kind of sticking up around my ears. I just don't care haircut.
Josh Hartnett, I've always paid more attention to his eyebrows.
I've never paid attention to his eyebrows.
See, as a high schooler, like, his hair was aspirational because it's like, well, you got out of bed and it looks awful, but you make it look good. So
yeah,
maybe there's a way to do this. I mean, narrator, 20 years later, there wasn't, but
there was. You have a very, very well paid hair and makeup stylist. That's how you do it.
Now you just do a little quaff over here.
Yeah. So H20 is the movie of the day, as we've said a few times. This movie came out in 1998, a solid 20 years after the original Halloween. It is meant to be a sequel from maybe to part 6, maybe to part 2. We're not entirely sure. It seems like nobody really got on the same page. A bit of a mess, this movie, but it will be fun to talk about.
Yeah, I'll have questions. I'm pretty sure, as I ducked out after 3.
Yeah, I've seen 1, obviously, 1, 2, because we did that for Where They've Been Doing, and then I saw 3 because we did that last year for Halloween. I've never saw 4. I've seen 5. I never saw 6, and then I saw 7, 8, and then I've seen all the remakes since then. But I've missed some of those ones that have like other people in them, like the one with like the little girl in the clown suit on the cover. I've never seen that one.
I haven't seen most of them.
Yeah.
Well, then the most recent
like
one
Jason.
that they did,
Oops.
I saw.
And I've just always been under. I mean, the first movie's really good.
First movie's great.
But all the other ones, I'm just underwhelmed.
What do you mean? 2 was awesome.
The way you said that really speaks volumes.
And I saw this movie in theaters.
And it's awesome.
No.
Awesome.
There are.
It's kind of surprising I saw this one in theaters.
Yeah.
Because I was 13?
98, yeah.
Yeah, 98. I started.
15, 14,
Well,
remember when it came
I
out?
started high school then.
Yeah, it's
So
always
I
interesting
that
to watch a
would've been
movie.
14,
That,
15.
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting to watch a movie that you would have gone to the theater for, but then when you watch it like later on, you realize, oh, I dodged a bullet.
I remember renting this one and having a blast with it. Like when I saw it the first time, I really liked it. As I've watched it more and more as I've gotten older and gotten way more into horror, because around I want to say early mid 90s is probably when I started really getting into horror. So this is right in that time frame. As I got more into horror and slashers and whatnot, this thing fell fast in the ranks, and now it's lower tiers. It's not the worst slasher in the world. It's just sort of fine. But that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, is how it's just sort of fine. I'll do a quick breakdown. So essentially what this movie is, if you don't know anything about Halloween beyond the first movie, I think you'd be fine watching it. Essentially all you need to know is that, or maybe 2, because 2 is when they mention that Michael Myers is her brother. So as long as you know that, all you really need to know is that it happened 20 years ago. Laurie is now an adult. She has a 17-year-old son. She is what would she be, like headmistress?
Headmistress?
Of the boarding school where her son attends school.
She's Dumbledore.
Yeah, she's a Dumbledore. And Dumbledore was attacked by, I'm forgetting his name. I was going to have a great Harry Potter joke, and now I can't remember.
Voldemort.
No, Dumbledore's brother.
I don't know.
Aberforth?
Aberforth, is that it?
That sounds
I don't know.
like something.
Something like that. That guy. That joke. I'm sure you're all just holding your sides with laughter at how well that one worked. Anyhow, so Michael Myers breaks out of the mental institution, goes after his old doctor, Dr. Loomis, only to find that Dr. Loomis has already died, but his nurse is still very much alive, so he goes to get the information about what happened to his sister, because he still wants to kill her. So he kills Joseph Gordon-Levitt, because he was there, kills the nurse, takes the info, and goes off to fight his sister, and then does. And then, after the sister wins, he knocks out an EMT guy, slaps his mask on him, throws him in a body bag, and then they go driving down the road, and Jamie Lee Curtis, thinking that it's her brother Michael Myers, lops his head off. And none of that you would know if you've only seen this movie, but I've seen the one after it where they explain all of that.
I read the Wikipedia on the other movie, so I found out.
Yeah. Kind of a shame, because this would have been a...
tricksters.
I always kind of think that's a shame, because this would have been a pretty good ending, I thought. Like, yeah, fuck them.
Except Michael Myers would never reach his hand out in any sort of like, help me, or I love you, or whatever that was.
Pull my
supposed to
finger.
be. Yeah.
Boy. So that's Halloween H2O. And Chewie and I watched this, a few days ago?
Yeah.
Like Sunday, Monday, sometime like that. And we finished it in all of the hour and like 15 minutes that it is long. And we went, man, I'm not sure how much there is to talk about in that movie. So we're going to do our best. I would say out of all the Halloween movies I've seen, it's not the worst, because there's always Halloween 2, but it's probably right around Halloween 2. The movie just never clicks.
We're never really sure who the main character is going to be. Is it going to be Jamie Lee, or is it going to be
Josh Hartnett. And Michelle Williams.
Michelle Williams is definitely not the main character.
No, but there was a chance she could have been a final girl at a moment, and then no, it's just Jamie Lee. And of course, it should be Jamie Lee. That makes sense.
Yeah. She literally shoves. I keep wanting to call him Ashton Kutcher.
Not Ashton Kutcher.
Oh my god, which is so mean of me.
It is. He's a much better actor than Ashton Kutcher.
Is.
Josh Hartnett.
Josh Hartnett.
Joshy.
Stop that.
You'll remember his name now.
But yeah, she literally just shoves him into a vehicle and says, leave!
No, she says, go down the street to the Becker house as a nod to Scream, because Casey Becker is the person who gets killed in the beginning of Scream. This movie is chock full of horror Easter eggs that have nothing to do with Halloween, which is another problem for a Halloween movie that we can get into some other time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I missed, I wasn't looking for those.
Oh, yeah, there's Scream references. There's a huge Psycho reference. Like, huge. Like, they walk by Norman Bates's car at some point, and then if you look at the license plate, it's Norman Bates' initials are the license plate, and they play the psycho music for a second. Like, this movie is just in love with other horror movies, or specifically other slashers.
No, what it was.
It really should have been in love with its own movie.
That was it.
Like, you were talking about Sinister Six and all these other things with Marvel. This movie did it first then.
Yeah.
And this is a horrifying world to live in.
No, thank you.
Pass.
I don't know where I'm going with
that. Yeah, I'm sorry. I got us derailed when I was like, oh, yeah, you want to talk Easter eggs? This movie has a ton of them, and they're all pointless.
There's just not that much interesting things to talk about in this movie.
No, so I'll talk a little bit about where the movie came from, because after we finished it, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck we're going to do a podcast on. We'll talk about Jamie Lee near the end, of course. But otherwise, like, this movie's kind of hollow is the best way I'll describe it, and I feel like that's why there's so many of these Easter eggs. And I don't blame Steve Miner, the director, very much. I think it's Miner, because he's a Friday the 13th guy, so he gets a pass from me. Miner, he directed part 2 and part 3, so I love the guy. But there is just something kind of missing, and I think it would all come back to when this movie was pitched. Jamie Lee was coming up on the 20th anniversary. She fully acknowledged that she would not have an acting career without the Halloween franchise. Like, that kicked everything off for her, and she's had a great career ever since, and she wanted to celebrate it. And that's great. So this movie came from a place of, like, let's do a love letter to the franchise that really brought us the modern day slasher. And she called John Carpenter, she called the producers, she called original cast and crew, and everybody was slowly but surely coming on board. Carpenter was on board. He was going to write and direct, but he wanted too much money, so they told him no. So then he walked off, and then the producer walked off, and then one by one, everyone but Jamie Lee sort of left. And now she's stuck here with a director that she really enjoyed. She actually tried to get Steve Miner to direct a different movie of hers, which she has said, the different movie is Virus, which she has publicly said is not the worst movie of her career, but possibly the worst movie of all time. I really like Jamie Lee.
Yeah, when she talks about her career, it's always a fun listen.
She's hilarious. But yeah, so this movie came from, like, a really good place, and you can just kind of see, like, that it's either studio notes or her notes or just something. It just kind of felt like, this is really fun. Fuck, it's not fun anymore. And she says, it's either in the commentary or in an interview about the film, she's like, what started as like a passion project slowly turned into a paycheck project. And I think that's kind of sad, because, like, so much of the current box office bread and butter are these, like, 20, 30 year later sequels. Like, that's how they stopped doing remakes. They just started doing sequels. And fucking Halloween did it forever ago. They beat him to the punch, like, over 20 years ago. And I think that's kind of cool. Like, they did things before people were doing it. And there are really good things in this movie. They're just few and far between. It's kind of unfortunate.
I was really surprised about that.
Ideas in this movie. Like, the idea that someone with a lot of trauma would put herself in a position where she can control her entire environment.
Yeah.
That's an interesting idea.
Yep. Yep, there's one.
And that's kind of where it goes.
That's all the things.
Because this movie is very watered down, late 90s. We want to get the youths to go to a horror movie because horror movies are cool right now.
Yeah.
And let's throw in these young stars.
Yeah.
But they don't really do anything with Josh Hartnett. They don't do anything with what's her name from
Michelle Williams. Nothing.
The kid from Jurassic Park or Jumanji,
yeah.
Isn't even on the cover of the film or of the movie poster.
Nope.
The girl who played his girlfriend, she was just generic, I want to have sex girl.
And then she gets fucked up.
Like, her leg getting chopped off is, like, the most interesting part of anyone dying in this movie.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that you have somebody like Steve Miner at the helm who's really good with gore. Like, go back and watch Friday the 13th Part 2 and 3. Like, that guy knows how to do a gory fucking slasher. He is good at it. And that's really the only gore scene we got. And I'm not like here
and there
just
were a lot
to
of
watch people get
opportunities
brutalized, but We're here to watch a slasher.
Yeah.
We get that one and then the ice skate to the face, and that's
I really just don't care about any of the characters in this movie. I mean, even LL Cool J is kind of interesting, but he just kind of does these weird cameo roles. Like, I equate his performance in this movie to the same thing as it was in Deep Blue Sea.
No, he's great in Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah, he's exceptional in Deep Blue
He
Sea.
is-
There's a little bit more to do in that movie than he did
No,
this
I'll defend him
Yeah.
in Deep Blue Sea. Deep Blue Sea, he is good.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite LL Cool J role. He is into that
Is that
thing.
after this one?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
then he's just got more acting abilities
Yes.
in that movie. Like, this one, I'm like, okay, how more obvious could it be that you were talking into a phone, that you're not listening to anyone else for action?
Oh yeah, he had nothing to do. Like that's kind of the problem with the movie is like nobody other than Jamie Lee has a character.
Yeah.
Everyone
Yeah,
is as one-noted as possible. Josh Hartnett, I want to go camping.
But I don't. But
Yeah,
I
no,
want, I
all
want
that
to
back
just
and
kind
forth
of
between,
hang around
like-
with my friends.
Yeah, all that going back and forth between the camping and not camping, and then camping and not camping, and then staying. At a certain point, I just stopped paying attention to that because, like, okay, so you're gonna go, you're not gonna go. Does the movie need you to stay? You're probably gonna stay, right? Cool. And then I was even with LL Cool J. I was relieved when he got shot by the guy because I was like, oh, good, he's out. He doesn't have to pretend to do anything in this movie anymore. Oh, he's back for another joke. Oh, well, that's too bad.
And just what we were trying to explain away while watching it with budget was, I mean, costume-wise, it's the late 90s. Unless you're doing like a club movie, your clothes are beige tones and they're boring.
Yeah.
And production design-wise, they leaned a little too much into what a boarding school would actually look like.
Yeah.
They should have made it more gothic or more Catholic or
Something.
something interesting, because the production design in this school was, again, just boring.
It felt like it wanted to be a budget Dead Poet Society.
Most of the time, everything felt like
Yeah.
a cafeteria.
Or cafeteria, yeah.
Except when they're hiding in their little Halloween lovey hole with the fabric and the candles everywhere.
That was very 90s.
Yeah.
That
Was
felt like it
that-
was out of like America
That
Wolf
was
in Paris.
that was the most like production designy-ness they had in the movie.
Yeah,
And it felt like it was out of place with the rest of it.
Totally.
Yeah, some better production design would have at least helped figure out where anything was. Production design and geography, like, this is a weird boarding school. Because, like,
Yeah.
okay, this place looks weird. You have a dumbwaiter here between your room or kitchen A, kitchen B. Where are they died? Like, how did Michael Myers
bother
know to
me as
find her up here?
I kind of agree with John on that one. Like the geography of the building makes zero sense. I mean, that's fine because we don't really need to know the geography of the building.
But it'll make it interesting to look at.
Yeah, exactly. Like you could
Well,
have.
there's a difference between, like, The Shining, where the geography makes no sense and you don't care because tension. Whereas this, you're
Yeah.
just like, I'm confused.
It's one of those things where, like, when you're noticing the geography of the movie, there's something else wrong. Like, because you wouldn't be paying attention to it otherwise. Yeah. Like, there's no reason that I should be watching what should be like an awesome slasher scene and going, wait, how heavy was that dumbwaiter to rip off her leg? Like, if it was like her ankle or her wrist or something a little bit more like flimsy, I'd get it, but like split her calf in half. Like, good lord.
It was hanging on by like a little piece of flesh.
Yeah, like, it's just weird. Like, that's the movie. It either wasn't fully committed, or it just didn't have the right money behind it, or just there was just something that didn't quite work, that it just kind of left us like watching through like a pane of glass instead of like being invested in the film.
Yeah.
So you're just kind of watching it more critically, and that's not really great because you have what is arguably, I disagree with this argument fully, one of the best slashers of all time. Okay, I'll give him one of. I'd put Freddy and Jason above him, but still, Michael Myers, you can't go wrong for the most part. Like, he is an awesome slasher. He's intimidating. He's scary. He loves his big fucking knives. He's a showman, which I enjoy. But this movie, like, this is my least favorite Michael Myers out of every Michael Myers edition I've seen, and I've seen both Rob Zombie films, so fully understand what I'm saying.
The guy who's playing Michael Myers is not charismatic.
No, he's not intimidating at all. He's a little scrawny. He does the head turn thing wrong, which I don't know how he does it wrong, but it doesn't look scary. Like it did
Yeah,
before.
okay, now that you point that out, like, that was bugging me a lot during this. Is like, this doesn't feel like Michael Myers. His stance seems weird, but, like, I haven't seen enough of these to fully articulate it either until you just said something now. Where it's like, he seems thin, he seems a little bit emaciated, but not, like, strong. Like, I don't think he could stab anyone and break skin. That's how weak he looked.
yeah, I don't see him as this like imposing force of doom. Like you go to like the David Gordon Green one, and it's like that Michael Myers is fucking scary. Like when you see him coming, you want to run. You go to the original, it's like fuck that dude. I want to get away from him. This one, it's like peace out, homie. I'm out. Like
I'd give him a wedgie.
Yeah. And then on top of that, you have what is easily, and I'll challenge any fan out there to try to tell me which one's worse, the worst Michael Myers mask in any film. Except for maybe Zombies Halloween 2 when it's just like tatters on his face.
Well, I think that's a general criticism of this movie as well, because I feel like when I briefly looked stuff up about this film, people mentioned the inconsistency in like the texture and color of his mask in this movie.
It's blue for like the last half. Like the shape is a white mask. Like it's supposed to be the inside out of a mask. Like it's a white mask. So what the fuck was that? And like the eyes look really flimsy. It just kind of looks like a dollar store knockoff of a Michael Myers mask.
Bought from like Spirit Halloween or something.
Yeah.
Which is weird because you mentioned it to me, Brian, before this, that the mask was really bad, and I was like, oh, it can't be that bad. Like, we'll see. It'll be fine. I'm sure, like, whatever. And then I watched it, I was like, oh, wow, you're right. 100%.
Yep. And it's interesting because the beginning of the film, when he kills the nurse and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, the mask is different. And he's wearing the same mask that he wore in Part 6, because Part 6 only came out 2-3 years before this one. So they're not that far apart. And that mask was actually pretty good. And then apparently they just disagreed on whether or not he should wear it the whole time, but they'd already filmed those scenes. So they're like, we're going to put him in the new one.
Also disagreed whether or not Part 6 happened.
Yeah, there's no agreements on that either. Like, it's just such a mixed bag of a movie. It's frustrating.
I was also looking, when you mentioned the mask changes, I was also looking for something plot-wise to be like why he had to get a new mask. But like nothing in the movie happens like that. He just has two different masks for reasons.
I think they're just hoping we didn't notice. And they're just like,
well, that's the thing is like, then don't make a slightly boring movie.
Yeah. Don't let us pick this stuff out then, guys. Because I'm well aware that like Jason wears multiple different masks throughout a film because, that's the way costumes work. Yeah. But I'm not looking for the different ones. I noticed here.
Yeah. It's just a boring movie.
It really is. Until the end. And like I'll get into more Jamie Lee now. So I read that whole article with her, and it's a really fascinating listener to talk about this film because you can tell how much she wanted it to be good. And it just didn't end up that way. But even she's like, there are good things in it. And in her mind, the movie doesn't really start until she kicks Josh Hartnett out of the house. And then it's Laurie versus Michael. And I tend to agree with her. Like, that's really when the movie becomes interesting.
Yeah. It's the only interesting part of the whole film.
Yeah, because like her whole like confession to her boyfriend dude is like, man, that's kind of an interesting scene. But it's
a red shirt the whole way through.
Total red shirt. But it was also like, I liked that she had to come clean to somebody, and the way she did it was weird. I was like, I liked it, but like, why did she have to do it while mounting him? Like, how
it was
weird.
like a role play moment. Also, no, that one makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Because she's dominating him in the moment that she's also being the most vulnerable.
Okay, yeah, no, that works.
She's pinning him down while she's confessing.
Nope.
So
that works.
That works with a person who's experienced a lot of trauma.
Yep, nope, I'm totally on board. You've convinced me. And it's actually like, and that's kind of the thing is Jamie Lee says in an interview that this movie turned into more of a paycheck film, and that's where I'm like, fucking props to Jamie Lee because it didn't feel like that to me. I never felt like she was 1 foot out the door ever. Like she sold every scene she was in.
You believed her disjointedness.
Mm-hmm.
This might be a little too, modern age of me, but it's also kind of weird for me to think that a woman who went through the trauma she did less than 3 years later had a son.
Yeah, I always kind of picked up on that one too.
I feel like you would wait a little bit longer to have a kid.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like they cast Josh Hartnett and it's like, well, guy's 22. He's not going to pass from too much younger. Let's say 17.
It's still a plot point, though.
Yeah, but I feel like she could have had one.
She was attacked when she was 17.
No. Oh, I guess that's true. Yeah, they want him to be the same age.
Well, when did he attack you? Well, I was 7. Ah! When she went to the birthday card.
Yeah.
And that means she had him when she was 20. Did she?
I mean, she did, like, they made it very well known that she had a problem with drinking, which definitely makes sense if she went through that sort of stuff. You go back to the
Yeah.
80s. Do you think there's any sort of mental health care for
No.
people with trauma in the 80s? Fuck off. They'd tell you to cheer up, bucko. So
Go outside.
I get that she would have had problems, and then she like I can make those leaps. Like that's not the problem for me in the movie. It's unfortunate, but I could see it happening.
But then
It
she still
was
found time to go to college and become a headmistress of a university herself.
She's fucking
Yeah.
Laurie Strode, man. She's a boss.
Yeah. That's the thing is like all her stuff is so interesting in this movie because of what's missing in the rest of the movie around her, because her whole character arc in this and then what's alluded to just like so fascinating, and she's playing it very well, very believable, and you're like, oh, I'm with you, like, wow, you're really dealing with some stuff. And then it's so like empty and vacuous in the rest of the movie. It was very kind of disjointed and very dissonant while watching it, because it's like I was really into her story and her like coming to grips with her past. And so like it felt like I was watching two different movies, and I liked the Jamie Lee Curtis part of this movie more than everything else.
Yeah, I almost wish there was a little bit more of this version of Jamie Lee Curtis in the David Gordon Green one, where she's full blown cabin in the woods, I'm a murder machine, Jamie Lee. Like I kind of wish that you could blend
Honestly,
these two characters a
Yeah,
little bit.
because her progression into that would make more sense to me then. Because
Yeah.
however much I enjoyed that movie, since I had only seen the first film, and you said that they don't even reference the second movie.
In that one, no. In that one, it is a
It's-
straight sequel to the first one. They are not related.
Yeah, I'm like, this is a little extreme for something that happened. I mean, to be fair, I haven't gone through any sort of trauma like that by far, so I shouldn't judge too harshly. but
Right.
This character would evolve into that character
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, if
Then
somehow the David...
somehow one night of being stalked would evolve into that character.
Yeah. So that's why it would have been cool if they could have like maybe toned that version down. Like I know there's some people like in the Halloween family, if you will, who have been like, it didn't feel like Laurie in the David Gordon Green one. But Jamie Lee signed off on it and Carpenter signed off on it, so who the fuck are we to say?
It's Laurie if she went through a Sarah Connor phase.
Well, it's
Yeah.
Laurie if exactly what we said happened. She got no help in between trauma and then now her
Oh yeah.
later in life.
Yeah.
Then I
So
kind
then-
of get it.
The 80s were not great for mental health.
No.
No.
Hashtag
I do have a question, though, about
blame
this.
Reagan.
Fuck that guy.
I do have a question about this though. Is Halloween the series the only one that is so aggressive about erasing its past with its movies? Because with the David Gordon Green one, erasing everything in between, and then this one erasing some, maybe or maybe not. It seems like this has kind of come up with all these Halloween movies as we've watched them. That there's always some sort of like the past ones didn't happen except for one.
Well,
Like, that seems to be
just
this legacy of this series.
that is very true, and there's something kind of interesting about it because if you read like what is John Carpenter's opinions on the Halloween sequels, he does not like Part 2, even though he wrote it. He had said that he basically had to drink himself into like a stupor every night to just get the script out, because if they were going to make a movie if they were going to make the movie either way, and he'd rather be involved. But he ended up really not enjoying that film, although he does still like the director, which is kind of nice. And then you go past there, he ended up enjoying 3 because he thought 3 was just like an interesting idea of a film, and I can't fully agree with him there. I don't hate Halloween 3, but I don't love it either.
I like that it has fairies in it.
Yeah, I like that.
They're fairies, but they're men.
But I bring up the 3 more days of Halloween. I bring that up all the time. But otherwise, yeah, they're fine. But then you go to like H20, and he's just like he just doesn't really even care anymore. So it's just kind of unfortunate because, and you look at it and it's like, well, I get it, because we're looking at a movie based on a sequel that he did not like. So of course he's not going to like it. It's kind of a mess. So I get that whole, we need to retcon it. We need to bring it back to what worked. Because if you want to go, is Halloween the greatest slasher film of all time, which a lot of people will say it is. I'm not sure if I agree. It is a great movie, don't get me wrong. But if you just want to make a sequel to that great film, you kind of have to ignore all of the fucking garbage that came after it.
Yeah.
Because it's not Friday the 13th, which started out with a very solid slasher film and then just went, fuck it, we're just going to throw shit at the wall and see what sticks and woohoo, party! Or you don't have like Nightmare on Elm Street, which is like, how can we one-up ourselves? We're going to get more creative every single time. We're just going to keep one-upping ourselves. Halloween wanted to stay serious and scary. And because of that, it just kind of never worked the same way. You needed Carpenter at the helm. So I understand that whole like, all right, just bring it back to basics. Fuck it, bring it back to basics. Fuck it, bring it back to basics. But at the same time, you end up with that legacy that you mentioned of like, oh man, this franchise just cannot figure their shit out.
Well, and it really affects watching it, just kind of psychologically as I'm going through this movie, knowing that, just like, oh, this ignores previous ones, or the more recent one ignoring previous ones. There's a sense of just like, I'm watching something that doesn't like itself in some way, shape, or form, and has to make itself better.
Doesn't like himself.
Yeah, it just affects it affects the experience completely for me, and it really brings things down. Even if there were enjoyable parts here, I can't help but think that. And there was a lot of time in this movie to think about stuff like that.
Well, especially because this movie feels like you have to know the franchise. Like I'll keep bringing it back to Friday the 13th just because I'm a huge fanboy. But Friday the 13th, you can pop in any one of the fucking movies and you know what's going on. Oh, those teenagers are gonna bang, and that guy in the hockey mask is gonna fucking murder him, and that's your movie. If you didn't watch part 6, you're fine watching part 7.
Yeah.
And if you didn't watch part 5, don't worry, we have a recap in the beginning of part 6 to let you know what happened, and then it doesn't really matter anyways. And like that's kind of how they rolled with it. But with Halloween, it feels like no, there's legacy here. And like that's kind of like what I feel like all the movies are trying to go for, of like the generational horror and trauma. Like that always comes back in Halloween, either in the first movie or the first 2 movies, is like, oh, this is affecting our lives, not our night, our lives. And it feels like the only way they feel comfortable doing that is like, this is ruining my life, as long as you ignore part 5 and 6, because I didn't really have anything to do with that. So that part didn't really affect me at all, but I know he was still out there, but you know, but it's so sad and so tough. And it's like, is it all or nothing, guys?
Yeah. And also, I'll admit, I was lost when the revelation of her being related to Michael Myers came up, because it's been so long since I've seen 2. I've seen 2 once, and 1 many times, and then like 3 once, and then nothing else, except for the other one. So like, when it was like, I'm his sister, and I'm like, what? I actually had to pause the movie for a moment, go read up on what happened, because I was lost. And it wasn't a very good feeling to feel in this movie, which is a weird complaint, because normally that I can kind of catch up, but I was already kind of dragging on this.
I feel
and
like
so
if
that
you'd
legacy
seen it
thing just kind of plays into
in '98, you would have been right there with it. Like I feel like all these sequels and remakes past that have just completely, it's just made it all confusing. And I know there's probably a lot of horror fans listening right now who are just like, it's not confusing at all. It's like, yeah, but if you weren't a fan, it can be.
I just didn't care.
Or you go that route.
This was the first Michael movie I had ever seen.
You saw this one before the original?
I didn't even see the original until you had me watch it like a year ago.
That's a good movie.
Yeah. 2 years ago? I don't know.
I think we did it for the podcast a little while ago.
Yeah. That's the first time I'd seen the original film. This was my first foray into Mike Myers. This is probably why I have no nostalgia for Mike Myers.
Yeah. And the thing is, I don't really either. I have nostalgia for Halloween.
Yeah.
The original film, and then like...
I'm pretty sure I was one of the people that this movie was hoping to bring in.
And it did. You saw it in theaters.
I saw it in theaters, but I didn't like it. I had no interest in seeing the next one.
I remember watching it on VHS with my sister, and I had already seen it once. And then it gets to that scene, like near the end, like we'll talk about the end here in a minute, when they're fighting, and he's like going through the cafeteria, and he's flipping tables behind him. He's totally Jasoning out, and I'm saying it's Jasoning out because it feels like a Jason Voorhees moment. And my sister just goes, "This is ridiculous." She was just not into it. And it's kind of because my sister is way more into horror than I was. And I'm like, no, it's good. Look, it's scary. And she's like, this isn't scary at all. This is ridiculous. And she's right. I mean, it's not scary at all. Like when you talk about slashers, you usually expect people to die. And
is this even R?
Oh, yeah.
It is?
The girl's leg is fucking hanging off. And Justin Gordon-Levitt skate to the
and they say
Yeah,
fuck
but
more
the
than
skate
once.
in the face is just funny looking.
But it's definitely rated R.
Okay.
You can't have that much blood and guts and gore and not have it rated R. You can't. They wouldn't do it. And it's Halloween. But it is very tame for a Halloween movie. Because it's not like tame, say, like the original Halloween, where it's not very gory, but it's still very violent and scary. This one, they just couldn't strike the balance. And I think that's more of where Steve Miner's weaknesses were. Because Steve Miner, like I said, Friday the 13th guy, he can do blood, guts, and gore. He didn't really do the subtlety as well. So instead of being subtle, it just kind of feels like this movie has a shockingly low body count, and it's not all that violent or scary, even though it has a couple moments.
Yep, surprised about that as well.
Yeah, like very few people die.
Yeah.
Like not Michael's best night.
Well, they cleared everyone out.
Yeah, they got the guy and the girl, the boyfriend, girlfriend,
Yeah.
sexy time
That
people.
you don't even care, because I'm like, wait, she's way hotter than you. This relationship makes no sense.
He can go hang out with The Rock. But we had those two, and then we had the boyfriend, and then the nurse and Joseph Gordon-Levitt and his friend. So that's 6. Is that it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I guess Michael's doppelganger at the end would be 7. But
Yeah.
so I guess a few people die. But I'm used, I like my Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th, 13 dead people. I mean,
you don't.
I'm not shy about thinking Jason's
Who
a better
do you
film.
even
better
actually
franchise.
see him attack, though?
The nurse in the beginning.
The nurse in the beginning, and then the girl.
The girl.
And Lori.
Yeah. Oh, and the boyfriend. Lori's boyfriend.
No, that's not really an attack. He sneaks up behind him and stabs him in the side.
And then lifts his body off the ground with the knife
and
so it
that's
cuts
just a
into him.
Reference
Yeah.
the second movie
It
with
is
the
yeah.
nurse.
Yeah. It was like that was done better in the second movie. Like it might be the only thing the second movie did well was
Because you have the clunk of her shoes falling off.
Mhm. It's a good moment. It's just that
See, yeah, we're missing that. We're missing that in this movie too. Just
the flourish.
the flourish, the
Yeah.
kind of the punctuation to these deaths, because I had to, like, when I was thinking about this movie for our episode today, I had to go through and remember the deaths because nothing really stood out about them and nothing was punctuated. Nothing was very specific. Like the boyfriend wiggles a bit in the air when he dies.
Yeah.
That's it. He wiggles and gargles, and then we're off to like table flipping in a very weird mess hall
Yeah.
that doesn't quite look like a mess hall, but there's tables, so fine. So like, there's all those things that just aren't specific enough.
And you like he keep like the flourish that like I'm talking about in like the kills are all very much on display in the original Halloween. And I'll go to like the what's his name, Brad, I think it is, the guy with the glasses who gets killed with a knife and gets pinned on the wall. Like that's what I'm talking about. Flourish is he gets pinned on the wall. They have a spotlight on the knife, like it's kind of subtle, but it's clearly a spotlight. And then Michael's just standing there staring at him, and that's where that famous head tilt came from. Is he's just like, huh, he's stuck. Like it's just kind of like this, almost like childlike curiosity of just like pure terror of like, he's just kind of like amazed at his own capabilities. And then they bring it into this movie like all the time, and he just looks like a lost puppy. Like it's just like they just couldn't quite figure it out. But they did figure out the last 20 minutes, which we should spend some time talking about a little bit. The last 20 minutes is when Lori has kicked the kids out, and then after her boyfriend gets killed, and LL Cool J gets shot in the head.
But he's fine.
But he's fine.
But the bullet just grazed him.
Yeah, it just grazed him, and he just lost a shitload of blood. I mean, it is a head wound. It is a head wound. And if I was in his shoes, I probably would have done the same thing. Shot in the head, Michael Myers is here. Fuck it. I'm just going to chill. Yeah. Michael's going to assume I'm dead. It's a head wound.
Coma.
I'm dead. I'm dead. You do you. So I'm with him on that one. But the cat and mouse game throughout the house, and Laurie's just, fuck it. I'm killing my brother. Like, I enjoy it. I'm here for it. It was entertaining. The action was good. It was good action horror. It was shot very well. The fight choreography was a bit ridiculous, like my sister said, but it still kind of worked in its own way. Like, I was still kind of into it. It's just really unfortunate. The movie is all of, I joked earlier, hour 15. I think it's actually an hour 25. It is the shortest Halloween film. But you're watching this almost an hour and a half long movie, and it's entertaining not until you're like basically ready to walk out on it. So even though the ending is entertaining, it doesn't do enough to like bring up the rest of the film.
Yeah.
So I can love it, and it is a lot of fun, but I'm not going to go back to this thing just to watch that.
No.
Because it wasn't that great. It's just so much better than what we were watching before.
I honestly don't remember it very well, so I don't think it was even that great for me. I remember the table flipping and her walking around with an axe, but then losing the axe right away, but then getting it back at the end.
But even just like the moment she first sees her brother is great. Like after Josh Hart and Michelle Williams are fighting for the keys, that for some reason Michelle Williams is like, I'm gonna lock the door and then I'm gonna chuck the keys at Michael, and oops, why'd I do that?
Yeah.
It made no fucking sense. But they get through the door and it's like that perfect circle window. It's even like, we had the IMDb page up. It's even like the still from the trailer of the circle window closes and she's slamming the door shut to lock it to figure out what's going on with her son. And that's when Michael gets through and they are just staring at each other.
Yeah.
And it's this
Oh
moment.
yeah, that was a great shot.
Great shot. It's this moment of confirmation of, fuck, he did get out. He did come after me. And him going, there you are.
Yeah, that's a great shot.
Great moment.
But you were saying the last 20 minutes when she's gotten rid of Josh Hartnett. I'm trying to remember that fight, and I'm not.
Yeah, I can't tell you the details either, but I know it's entertaining when I watch it.
Well, what was kind of hopeful about it was that she's turning it around on him, and I like that in slasher movies or horror films like this, where if they try to turn it around, where the stalker gets stalked or they fight back, but they're not like weak. I don't know. That's always for me an interesting turn. So when they were promising that with this, I was like, oh, cool. But then they kept trying to make her into the final girl or like the damsel. And like, you have an axe, you're a badass, lose the axe. You have a knife, lose the knife. Like, they kept trying to steer course correct back to her just being, scared, instead of just being like, fuck this, I'm gonna attack you. Like, they tried to keep her away from it. And that's why, like, we can barely remember the action of it other than the tables, because it was like, we don't really want you to turn on him and actually hold your own. We just want to hint at it.
Because, I mean, that's really how Michael is able to kill the majority of the people that he kills, is that they don't want to die. They freak out, they fuck up, he eventually catches up to them and just stabby. Whereas the reason why I like the end of the film so much is that Jamie is willing to die to save her son. So it is no longer Jamie Lee from the ending of the original Halloween, where she's cowering in a closet while he's busting through it and she's just trying to stab him with anything she can get her hands on just to get the fuck away from him. Like, it's not the mouse anymore. It's cat v cat. And she's like, no, fuck you. You're not killing my son. And that mentality is there sometimes. And when it's there, it's great. And then everything else John just said is spot on, because every now and then they kind of go, but she's the final girl, so that means she needs to be scared, right? And it's like, no, I'm fine with Laurie getting ready to fuck him up. And that's really what the David Gordon Green film got right, was no, I'm willing to die if I know you're going down with me.
Well, let's just take that as 90s.
Yeah.
90s liked their empowered women, but only to a certain extent.
Yeah.
We want them to be empowered, but still easily overtaken. That's the 90s idea of feminism, strong female characters, honestly.
Baby steps forward in the 90s.
Baby steps forward.
Is there anything we missed in this film, or should we move on to the quote-quote quotes?
Well, I think you mentioned something about the end where...
Oh, sure.
All the stuff about the switching them out, there's weirdness around that end as I was reading up on it. So I'm curious of your take on it. Just her killing him, them deciding like he can't be killed. I think there was like a contractual thing too. I don't know. It was to me, the ending was interesting. It just, she chops his head off. I wasn't expecting that. So I don't know. I might need some enlightenment on the history of that.
I mean, were you expecting any of that sequence? Were you expecting her to pull a gun out of a cop's waist and then steal the van and then drive the van away and then purposely drive the van off a cliff? And I wasn't expecting any of that shit.
No.
And I like it because it shows the mental state of where Laurie is at that point of like, no, he can't be killed. I shot the fucking dude in the head. And I burned him alive. I blew him up in a hospital. He can't be killed. He's not going to get killed by a couple stab wounds. He's not dead. He's not dead. You're wrong. I love that idea. But at the same time, like John said, I'd also read there was some sort of contractual negotiations when they were writing the film that they couldn't kill Michael. But they still wanted to kill Michael, so they came up with this convoluted thing of oh no, he swapped himself out with somebody and then duct taped his mouth shut. And somehow that guy wasn't able to just go, and that alone would made Laurie go, Michael doesn't make noise. Like, that's all he had to do.
I just have a crazy thing going in my head right now of the last 5 minutes of this movie, and everyone's Charlie going, wild card!
Wild card, bitches!
gonna steal this van, wild card! Put it off the cliff, wild card! Alright, you're Michael, I'm gonna chop your head off. And suddenly Michael pulls his mask off, wild card! Stop me!
I gotta put Michael in his body bag. He whips off his mask. Wild card!
Just replace the entire last of this movie with Charlie.
It would have been better. Oh my god, if Charlie was under the mask the whole time, better film.
See, yeah, that's what I want out of a Halloween movie now. Thanks, guys.
There's Charlie Day yelling wild card.
Oh my god. But yeah, so I mean, I guess the history from what I read, we read similar things because it just seems like, so what do you want? You want it to end, you want to kill him, but you don't want him to be dead and you want more sequels. Yep.
Aw.
Oof.
That's like the worst boss I've ever had.
Yeah. That tracks.
I don't know what you want from me.
So that's exactly what we got. If you never saw another Halloween movie past this, you're like, oh, I guess it ended at H20 when Laurie finally killed Michael. Bop, bop, bop. Bob's your uncle. Hooray! And then if you just turn on the next movie, Laurie's the opening kill of the next film. It's like, oh, awesome. Thanks a lot, Halloween Resurrection. You really do suck.
Yeah, it's just weird because like in other movies, like
that movie happened.
It's so bad.
Yeah, it's just weird like how that doesn't fly in this movie to me because this movie was more serious, right?
Yeah.
In the other slashers, you can do that shit because it's fun. And it's like, well, how can they one up themselves next time? How is he not dead this time? This, to me, it's weird. It's like you can't get away with that. That seems very criminal, almost.
Yeah, it's like, I'll go back to Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th, Jason is fucking dead. Dead. So how would he come back? I don't know. We're going to stab this metal spear into his corpse to make sure he's dead. And oh no, lightning hit the spear. Jason's back. Like, fuck it. Like, that's kind of what I want from some of these slashers. It's just the fuck it attitude. But if you're trying to play it serious and cartoony, you end up just with disappointed audience members.
Yep.
Now should we talk quotes?
Yes.
Yes.
I honestly thought we were going to be a little nicer to this film after I watched it, and then I'm like, because I've seen this movie like 15 times.
We've almost talked the same amount of time this movie happened.
That's true. We're almost at an hour, and this movie's only a little over an hour long. Oy. John, do you have a quote?
Yeah, it's. I had to look it up because honestly, I couldn't remember much of what they said in the movie. My attention span was pretty poor for this.
Yeah.
But when Laurie was talking to, I think Will, that's the boyfriend, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. And he's like, my brother killed my sister. And how do you do that? With a really big, sharp kitchen knife. It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, cool.
It was a good trailer moment. I remember that in the trailer. It was a solid trailer moment.
My favorite trailer moment was, who was that? My brother.
I'll go for
It's such
fine.
a pointed moment in the movie.
I'll go. We'll just stick with the trailer moments. What are we gonna do? Try to live.
See, that's another problem with this movie is there's too many like moments of dialogue where like that's not how that would be said.
No. We also didn't talk about how this movie is fucking wall-to-wall jump scares that don't work.
Yeah.
Wall to wall. Like every other thing is blimp.
Oh, a character walked into frame. Ah!
Oh, you bumped into me. Oh, you bumped into me. Oh, you bumped into me. Like,
Oh,
my
man.
God.
But
We
there
get
was
it.
no cat.
What is up
Yeah.
with that cat?
There was no crazy cat. This movie needed a crazy cat.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no,
This
it was
movie
weird.
needed Charlie Day and a crazy cat. With cat
Those fit.
kitten mittens.
Kitten mittens.
Oh my God. Michael Myers is just the cat from Kitten Mittens, and that's how they can't track him because he's wearing his kitten mittens. He was making too much noise.
I'm making this movie better.
Stop it. Stop making this movie better.
Does your slasher make too much noise? Kitten Mittens. We haven't even
See, that's
watched
the best
it
quote
in
of
a
the
long
movie.
time.
We need to pitch this to Always Sunny. Be like, you guys haven't done a slasher themed episode.
No, I don't think they have. They're missing out. They have a good one. There's some good stuff there. I mean, Dennis is probably already a slasher. I mean, why not?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure if you're going to want to watch this movie again, but if you had to in a double feature, what are we doing? Double features. Oh, jeez. I'm just going to make it easy, and I'm going to say the original Halloween. Like, if you're going to watch it, I mean, yes, not a great sequel to the original Halloween, especially because you kind of have to know what happened in Halloween 2 as well. But, I mean, they do pair well together. The movie is just chock full of homages to the original film and many, many other horror films for some fucking reason. But I do think, like, I have done it before. I have watched them back to back. They pair well. The first one is obviously much, much better, but it works.
No. Maybe with the boy.
The one with the mannequin boy with the dude in the wall?
Yeah.
Oops, spoilers. My bad.
It's kind of the same level of disappointment. We're like, this could be good.
Oh, it's just a dude in a wall.
A really creepy dude in the wall.
Oh, what is this doll doing? Oh, it's just a dick in a wall.
Yeah, so disappointed.
All in all, it's just not a dick in the wall.
Yep. It's not a cat in the wall, which is much better with Charlie Day.
What are you going to do? Thinking about bringing another cat. Thinking about bringing 2 cats. I was following by like 15 of them.
I mean,
Twice
Charlie
the
would get that
kitten
guy
mittens.
out of that wall so much faster than the boy.
Why are there so many cats? That guy would just be like, what the fuck is going on? I'm trying to creep out my nanny, not get attacked by 1,000 feral cats.
Both these movies would be improved with Charlie Day.
Totally true.
Okay, so I'm going to go with one that I saw a long time ago when I was a projectionist at a theater, and it wasn't good. But I feel like it was entertaining, not good. It was See No Evil.
Oh, God, that is not good.
Yeah, but it was funny when I watched it dozens of times as a projectionist. But I feel like you should reward yourself after something that's just not like this movie, and to just kind of steer to something that's just really schlocky, really bad, and just continue the spiral, but in a different way. Pivot the spiral a bit.
Yeah.
And See No Evil.
I brought up some quotes just in case I couldn't remember mine, and I'm looking at the back end of your quote, John, and I kind of forgot how horrible that scene went. Of the, well, that's sucky. How'd he do it? And then she said, like, the really big kitchen knife, and he goes, that's terrible. Take off your clothes.
Yeah.
You said you'd listen. Okay.
Wow, way to misread the moment there, dude.
There was so much of just weirdness in that moment, hence why I picked it, because it was just like, I'm already like sitting forward being like, what? Wait, what? Huh?
Wait,
what?
huh? What did I miss? They're related? Hey.
Boring.
Anyhow, I think that's it. I think we Halloween H20'd 20 years later.
I am thirsty.
That wasn't some fine quality H2O.
No, it was not. But we watched it, and I'll always remember fondly the few good moments that they were.
It was not Aquafina. It was Mountain Spring.
There you go.
Which I think just got recalled or something. There was a water brand that got recalled.
That's fucking scary. Anyhow, so next week, the final week of Jamie Lee month, would have made a lot of sense to do Halloween, but we've already covered Halloween on After the Hype and pretty much every version of Halloween. So we're going to do a different horror movie of Jamie Lee's. We're doing Prom Night. Pretty excited to watch Prom Night. I've never seen Prom Night. I don't know if it's good or bad. I remember they talk a lot about it in Scream, but that's about all I know about it. And I did watch the trailer, which is a really kind of grindhousey fun trailer. Like, it's if you have not seen the trailer, highly recommend it. Fun, kind of like throwback. Oh man, miss these sort of horror trailers. So excited to watch.
Yeah.
Definitely excited to watch Prom Night. And then coming up next month, we have Mr. Hugo Weaving.
Hugo Weaving.
Hugo Weaving. We were not going to do another actor back to back, but it just kind of it made sense because I was talking to Chewy. I'm like, who do we pick for Mr. November. And then Chewie's light bulbs went bing. It's like, remember the 5th of November. So I guess we'll be doing V for Vendetta at some point next month. And then 3 other Hugo Weaving movies.
We're definitely going to do Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Yeah.
Because you and I have both never seen that.
John, have you seen Priscilla?
I have not, so that settles it.
Perfect. All right, so we got 2, and then we'll pick the other 2 at some other point. But yeah, very excited for Hugo Weaving month. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then the month after that, we'll do a different filmmaker of some sort. So we don't keep doing actors back to back. But, Mr. November, we just kind of, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
And as with all things Hugo Weaving, it just makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I don't know if we try to watch one of the Lord of the Rings, or if we just be like, it'd just be weird to watch one.
Yeah, so we'll just do Matrix Revolutions.
Oh.
If we're going to do any of them, we got to do part 3.
Skip that one, too. I mean, he's so good as Mr. Smith in the first one.
He's not bad in part 3. They have a Dragon Ball Z fight at the end. How could you hate part 3?
Oh,
Really
and
easily
yeah.
hate part 3.
Part 3 is like Friday the 13th franchise. It's just like, fuck it, let's see what works. Oh, none of it did. Were you having fun anyways?
Yeah. No, I rewatched those all 3 recently, and it was just like, okay, I see, like, time has been kind to it for me.
Yeah, I can watch those movies with a grin on my face. It's like, oh, this is hot garbage. It's really fun, hot garbage. But we might do a Matrix. I don't think we've ever covered the Matrix on ATH or BTH.
No, wait.
It's really
no, I
hard
don't
to
think
cover it singularly. It really is.
Nah, I think the first one's easy to cover. It's just you have to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop.
If you want to talk anything beyond that one, then you got to do fucking
They
all
won.
of it. But
They-
yeah,
they won.
They won. Neo won. Good for Neo. Good job, Neo. And
so. One and done. That's
although I am really excited for part 4 because it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. But that's me. Anyhow, so plugs. Plugs. Welcome to You Are Doom every Monday. We only have 2 or 3 episodes left. We are going to take a brief hiatus. Tune in this upcoming Monday. We'll describe why and how long that hiatus will be. And we're going to try to do a special episode or 2 in between the hiatus. But then we'll be coming back afterwards to finish up Frisky Dingo and begrudgingly The Excal Show. If you're listening to Frisky Dingo, you know why I'm annoyed about that. Chewy, nothing to plug?
Boosh.
Thank you. Anything to plug?
No.
You want to plug Frisky Dingo? Boosh.
Boosh.
Think you could.
Harumph.
Think you could bench a Scion. Seriously, Frisky Dingo is the best fucking show other than, every other show. John, what you plugging?
Demon Days, our actual play podcast every week. And yeah, we're having a good time. All up in that tiefling demon devil shit.
A lot of fun. That's it. Thank you everyone so much for listening. Tune in next week when we finish out Jamie Lee month prom night. Bye.
Bye.
See you later, bozos.